Yeah, I know we're more than halfway through July when I'm making this, but I've been out of town or otherwise busy, so here's my very delayed ranking of all 9 June 2023 releases that I saw from worst to best. And starting off at last place at number 9 is The Boogeyman. I mean, granted, this is a Stephen King adaptation, so it could have been worse. I will say the horror stuff is tastefully done with some nice build-up, and I like that this is more of a psychological horror film instead of a bloodfest meant for shock value. However, on a plot and character level, it's very thin, and nothing about it really stands out. The whole time, I kept thinking about movies that did very similar things to this and did them much better. Films such as Poltergeist, Lights Out, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It just feels like cheaper versions of those. The main characters are not particularly interesting. David Dodge Malton's character in the first 20 minutes has potential and was a far more interesting character, but he's just there to function as an exposition mouthpiece. I will say that unlike a lot of other Stephen King stories, the ending of this one was at least satisfying. However, I would have preferred that the ending be more left open to interpretation because the ending is very heavy-handed and treats the audience like they're dumb. Number 8, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. When I saw the trailers for this, I was pretty skeptical. It didn't look that great, but part of me said, there's no way they can botch this worse than Crystal Skull, right? I was quite sadly wrong. They managed to introduce a plot element even stupider than having aliens. Time travel now exists in the world of Indiana Jones. Now, if this were a campy B-movie about Nazis trying to use time travel to win World War II, okay, this might be a fun time in that context, but as an Indiana Jones movie, it's incredibly stupid. And even when they finally get around to introducing the time travel element, they don't even do that much with it. It's only in the last 30 minutes. My sister brought her date with her, and he hadn't seen any of the Indiana Jones movies prior to this, and when they started talking about time fissures, he leaned over to me and said, really? We're doing time travel? We're really jumping that shark? So, and even somebody who hadn't seen the other ones knows that it doesn't work in the world of Indiana Jones. That's how you know it does not work. The film, apart from the first 20 minutes, is also pretty devoid of fun. Indiana Jones in this is no longer the suave action hero we remember. Now he's a depressed, hopeless old man, and it's not fun to watch. The woman he's paired with in this is also incredibly unlikable. She doesn't have the spunk or the can-do attitude of Marion and just comes off as incredibly annoying. The first 20 minutes with the younger Indiana Jones and a de-aged CGI Harrison Ford, that kind of works. I was hoping that this was an indication of how the rest of the movie was going to be, but I was sadly disappointed. I do hope they take the first 20 minutes and use it as a template for a Disney Plus show, because it could work as a pilot episode for that. Though maybe don't do it as a live-action CGI de-aged Harrison Ford, but maybe get the Clone Wars animation team to do it as an animated show. Get Alden Ehrenreich to voice Indy. I thought Ehrenreich did a great job playing a young Han Solo, and I feel like he's pretty underrated. Give him another chance. Overall, this is not a movie that belongs in a museum, though. It belongs in your nearest landfill. Number 7, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. This movie's just odd. For the most part, DreamWorks tends to make very widely accessible films, the exception to that being films such as Boss Baby or Trolls, where they're very clearly made for a younger audience. But this is a movie where I have no idea who the audience for it is supposed to be. It's too mature for younger kids, and older kids and adults will see it as too childish. Its pacing is also way too fast, barely letting the audience process anything, and overall the movie is just chaotic, loud, and annoying. And it's frustrating because this film is an original idea, and I want to praise creativity. But the execution of this movie really missed the boat. DreamWorks really feels like they plays it very safe here. Instead of getting a movie of sharp-biting satire like they did with Shrek or Megamind or Monster vs. Aliens, we get a very safe Teen Wolf and Turning Red ripoff. It has an interesting concept, but its execution missed greatly. Number 6, Elemental. Another animated film released in June that had great potential, but instead chose to play it very safe. This is the same director as The Good Dinosaur, and that's a pretty forgettable Pixar film. While the animation is pretty top-notch, the story and characters are very safe, and the message is super heavy-handed. It felt like Zootopia if the writers of Zootopia thought the audience was stupid. There aren't any memorable jokes, the characters aren't that memorable either, they're not that complex, there's no big plot twists, it goes exactly the way you would expect. Overall, it's a very safe waste of a creative concept. Number 5, Flamin Hot. This might be one of the most feel-good movies of this year. I found it quite charming and inspiring. It's got a main character who's easy to root for and you want to see succeed, who always remains optimistic despite his setbacks, and it's also a lot funnier than it has any business to be. There's a lot of really snappy dialogue, but it does have all the Hollywood underdog story cliches. The supportive wife, the wise friend, the evil corporate monster. It's very similar to films like Rocky in terms of its narrative structure and tropes. It is a bit cheesy, and a bit exaggerated to spice things up. Boo! But I thought it was all that and a bag of chips. Number 4, Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Entertaining enough. It's got everything you expect from a Transformers movie. It's got robots fighting, though the action is a bit derivative of the MCU, and Pete Davidson gets very annoying very quickly, and some of its third act plot twists are a bit silly. But as far as the Transformers movie go, it's still one of the better ones. I think it just needed better characters, and the first half really should have been better paced. Number 3, Asteroid City. Obviously, Wes Anderson is a director who's a very acquired taste, and if you're not a Wes Anderson fan, this isn't the movie for you. It's not the movie that's going to change your mind. As for me, I thought this movie was a hoot. It's less plot-focused and more character-focused. Spending time with these absurd characters and absurd situations, but they all play it so straight, and that's what makes the film so charming. The cast is fantastic, the script is witty, and the film rewards you for paying attention. I thought it was incredibly well made, and it's a shame that not a lot of people saw it, because I thought it was a wacky breath of fresh air. Number 2, The Flash. This film had fantastic action, a terrific plot, and Michael Keaton's triumphant return as Batman. There's also fan service galore, and it's an absolute love letter to DC fans, while also being careful enough to stay focused on the plot and not let the cameos and Easter eggs distract. Flash goes through a great character arc, and all the characters are written very well, but given that this is a time travel movie, you get all the time travel movie cliches that feel very derivative of shows like Doctor Who and movies like Avengers Endgame, but I still had a lot of fun with this movie, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And the number 1 movie that I saw in June 2023 is Across the Spider-Verse. This will be talked about in the same conversation as Empire Strikes Back as one of the best sequels of all time. It expands upon the first film's ideas, gives even stronger character growth to the returning characters, and introduces a new host of delightful new ones. It has more emotion, higher stakes, and the trademark humor from Lord & Miller's other films, such as The Lego Movie and Colliding with a Chance of Meatballs. This is a movie that doesn't have any filler scenes. Every single moment's important, leaves the audience wanting more. They went above and beyond the Call of Duty with this film, and I can't wait for the conclusion to the trilogy as it comes in at number 1 of the best movie of June 2023. I'm going to share a ranking of the June releases that you saw, and I will see you in just a couple weeks for my July ranking.